On episode, who knows, of the Mainly Wrestling Show. I'm joined once again by the evergreen John Jacobs and the reoccurring Matthew Leach. Leach is here for his second gig. He did so well that he gets a second tryout. This is like the Performance Center, except we actually know how to work. We're here on the 35th anniversary of the closing match of the greatest trilogy of all time. I mean, would Meltzer say that? He'd say it's Kenny against Okada, wouldn't he? He's an idiot. This is the greatest trilogy of all time. Ric Flair against Ricky Steamboat. In Nashville, Tennessee, three judges, including Terry Funk. Leach, you've seen this before, sure. The Flair Steamboat
I
better
haven't.
than
Yeah, what did the trilogy get altogether? Was it like
I think
14 stars?
five, 5.5, and five, and Meltzer rated a house show he saw in the middle of that in Baltimore 6 stars.
So we gave six, 5.5, and five.
Six, 5.5, and two fives. Chicago got five. The two out of three falls match in New Orleans got 5.5, and this got five.
Nice. Okay. So is that more than the Kenny Omega and Okada trilogy?
Absolutely. Well, absolutely not.
Didn't he give seven, 6.5, and six for
It
that?
was definitely 7 stars, which is why it was very telling, right? When he said about Danielson Osprey,
I
this is the
mean,
best
personally,
match in North America.
yeah, I take the Steamboat Flair trilogy over the Okada
I'm sure our friend James,
Kenny Omega.
I'm sure our friend James E would agree. Our friend John J, however, may disagree. John, what do you know about Flair Steamboat from 1989?
Flair's the guy who has been abusing restaurant workers, right?
That's
And
correct.
has
Yes,
been,
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
find
yeah,
his
yeah. Okay.
merchandise at
Being in the toilet too long.
nocontextflair.etsy.com.
And Steamboat, he's the guy that clotheslined Punk in ROH when he was a special guest ref. That's
Correct.
it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Correct.
no, I
Yes.
know them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard of
Yeah.
them.
The greatest babyface of all
That's what
time.
they're famous for, isn't it? Yeah.
The greatest
That's what
babyface of
I'm
all
famous
time,
for.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Do you know
Uh,
what? It's quite funny. The first match that I ever saw of Steamboat was when
Chris
he
Jericho.
faced Chris Jericho at
Mm.
WrestleMania. But and I was a fan. He's still got it, as the crowds correctly told him.
I mean, in '89. So to give you a bit of context, Steamboat was probably the biggest babyface in Jim Crockett in '84. Dusty came in, took his spot. He was the booker. You know, Oscar Rhodes, he's always going to be on top. He then goes to WWF in '85. He wrestles the 5 star match against Savage at WrestleMania 3 in '87. Loses his way. Again, his wife is very heavily involved at this point in terms of his decision making. He comes back in February of '89, wins the belt. They wrestle a 2 out of 3 falls match at Clash of the Champions 6 weeks later. And then this is the blow off with judges because it was a contentious. I think there was a cross chicken wing or a pin or something, and Flair's leg under the ropes, whatever. So they have to go to a winner here. Um, and
But
this,
they do,
I mean,
they go like he falls down. He's going in the chicken wing. He falls backwards.
shoulders
He's had his
down.
shoulders pinned behind him, but both shoulders are down. Is that what they do? They double count on the
Yeah,
shoulders.
they got because Flair actually tapped for the first fall, and that was the first. This
That
is the
was
first time Flair's actually tapped out in like 6 years on, which is for the guy who was supposed to be like the greatest of all time and the franchise. It was he said I want to
actually
put Ricky
coincidentally.
up.
I think Sheamus tapped out last night on Raw. I think that was the first time in a long time, by the way. Well, we'll probably get to that later, right? But yeah, Sheamus tapped out
To who?
to Gunther
Gunther.
All right.
in a single leg Boston Crab. He tapped out.
I wonder if
I'm
he's
There
putting
pretty
was
that
sure
on
like
actually
to Lance
Sheamus is the
Storm.
guy who doesn't tap out, right? That 6 years you're just talking about could be been beaten last night, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
Good work, fella. JJ, you wearing a wrestling shirt there?
no,
Oh, never mind then.
just a white t-shirt,
Just a white t-shirt.
no logo on it. Yeah, nothing
Oh,
exciting.
and we'll crack on ahead because we want to get this out tonight. If you go to the network and search Wrestlewar 89, I've illegally downloaded the video somewhere, but I'm gonna be a good boy and pay the network. Look, at least I pay my way. This is the first time I've been on the network in 6 weeks, and they still get $10 a month.
I don't know
Not
what it's
Triller
like on
though.
Peacock, but crucially, Wrestlewar, all one word. If you search for it 2 words, you're gonna have a bad time.
Only a few of us these days are subscribing to Triller, and God love them because they're probably the business up. WrestleWar 1989 from the network, 118.05. You're going to see the Nature Boy Ric Flair styling and profiling, about to walk that aisle like only he can. If you're going to join along with us, we'll click play in three, two, one. The OG
Oh,
Flair music. Nothing else beats
Quite
it.
an iconic theme tune, isn't it?
2001 Space Odyssey, right?
Correct.
Classic.
But, I mean, that is
That
low budget
double
pyro.
pyro.
Like, come on, lads.
You notice how like bright the crowd are. Quite unusual.
How what? Light?
Yeah, like well, maybe it's just where the entrance ramp is, but
Yeah, no,
they're
you're right.
quite
Yeah,
well
it's
lit, aren't they?
rather light on the first 3 or 4 rows, right? Compared
Mm.
to the
When they
rest.
yeah so the NWA changed their setup. They basically just spotlight the ring and they pretty much shut the crowd out as of '88. That's probably the one of the most famous Flair rubs. Probably back in '97 in Nitro. Flair comes out with 40 women, I think, in the end.
So the
Impressive.
guy talking now is this is Bob Caudle? Who's this? This is it's Jim Ross, obviously, with
Jim Ross with the king of NWA Pro Wrestling, the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. It's Bob Caudle on the
Caudle,
mic
yeah.
with him. JR had 3 different partners for each call. I think he had Magnum for the first match in Chicago. He had, I want to say he might have had Terry Funk for the second one. And then he had Bob Caudle for the third.
Yeah. Well, we're on this
Might have had Gordon
conversation.
Soley, actually.
Did you happen to catch Eric Bischoff last week? He did his 83 weeks podcast, and
Oh boy, I've
he
seen a bit of Bischoff, but Bischoff's just kind of just gone. He's gone in 2-footed, hasn't he, the last month?
oh, he's obviously he's getting
He's
paid,
coining
right?
it in.
But did you see his Hall of Fame for WCW? And they got to the commentator section, and all the people who were like commenting on his videos were saying they should be Tony Schiavone should be inducted to the WCW Hall of Fame if there was one for
Yeah.
commentated. And Eric Bischoff argued back and said it should be Jim Ross. And
Jim Ross,
was
89, 90,
pinpointing
91
that-
was unbelievable.
yeah, he was pinpointing that for him, Jim Ross was the key driver, like in bigging up the suspense and matches like this. I mean, I know this is like this is 89, so WCW is 88, isn't it? It starts in 88.
Yeah, November '88, Turner buys
Yeah.
out
So
Crockett.
this is so he's looking at periods like this and saying Jim Ross did a better job than Tony Schiavone, which I think a lot
Oh,
of
look at
people.
the little dragon.
But you might be right. I mean,
The problem is, right?
Speaking of
Flair was
iconic commentators, I thought it was quite interesting that that WWE quietly let Jerry the King Lawler go yesterday. He was someone who was always seen as someone that would be looked after, right? Obviously, he's been there a long time. He's had his health problems. He's not going to get another job at this point. I think it's more the way UFC do things as a business or Endeavor as a business that they don't really bother with that, right? They don't bother with these sentimental contracts. They just if there's no value to them, they're just happy to let them go. Thought it was interesting.
Yeah, the Legends deals historically, right? People would stay on because the company would make money via merchandise sales, and it kind of justifies them being kept on. And it's like a nominal fee, right? 25 grand and then percentage of royalties. I guess it's just a case of he ain't selling shit, so get rid of him. Whereas
I think
previously,
it's a
right, you
case
were
of
seeing this.
Endeavor have come in. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, Vince would do I mean, you hear all the time, right? Vince would just send like 10 grand to someone or 15 grand here or 25 grand here. Almost like he's looked after it. Like apparently for all his flaws, and there are many, he was a very loyal guy to people who had worked a long time for him. Like there's the story like Mr. Fuji was ill and cancer stricken, and Vince just like basically give one. I think it might be Gorilla Monsoon. Someone going, these 20 grand, go make sure he's like wherever he was in hospital, make sure he's looked after.
I
And
guess
then
when you're giving away millions in NDAs to keep the people that you've used quiet, then a few grand here and there doesn't really make much difference, does it?
look, I'm not defending the man. I'm just pointing out historically he had a different way of doing business to traditional business. Again, if we compare Victor Chandler and how he did things compared to when he became Bet Victor and Michael Tabor, two very different businesses. But
This is niche references, but fair enough.
I mean, I'm guessing people who watch this generally might know the three of us, so they'll know the game industry.
so
By the way,
the reference Tommy, right? But who's the announcer? I can't
Gary
think
Michael Capetta.
the ring announcer.
He turned up in ROH in 2005, if you remember.
Yeah, I recognize the
Yeah.
voice. So his names escapes me, but so it's Tommy Young.
Greatest,
We've
greatest
got
referee
Bob
of all time,
Caudle, and
Tommy
we've
Young.
got JR on the mic.
These two are in phenomenal. Look how great a shape these two are in, by the way. These are like 40 years old at this point.
And then ringside, we see we had the judges storyline before this, or was it after this?
They just announced the judges.
Just to show them this is the judges one. I'm just showing them at ringside, yeah. So
yeah.
All right, fans.
Ricky Steamboat, like he's 40, he looks like a god here.
Sorry, for someone who is not used to seeing judges at a wrestling match, is this if it hits the 60-minute time limit, the judges will make the decision?
Yeah, so in the previous
They've
match,
done that a couple of times in AEW, haven't they?
yes, yeah.
was it for Cody's match?
They actually cited this match.
Brian Danielson.
But they mentioned this. Yeah.
I remember seeing it for Danielson match. I can't remember off the top of my head.
This match is tits, by the way. Like you may not like this JJ, no disrespect, but to someone like me, this is just it doesn't get any better than Flair Steamboat and
obviously, I don't necessarily have I mean, you talked about the context a little bit, but I've not seen kind of the context building up to it. But I think a match of this standard with two of the best wrestlers of all time, I don't think that's a controversial take, and it was rated a 5-star match. I think it should stand on its own as a wrestling match, even if you're coming in knowing nothing, right? If you've gone to this arena and you're just watching this match with no knowledge of anything that's come before it, they should be able to tell you a story in the ring that will hold you, right? So
I think the commentators actually, if you watch this with the commentators, they do tell the story as well. It is a match you can just watch. First one.
Even there, you can see it, right? It's like it's a personal rivalry. Ricky Steamboat's like he's obviously the baby face coming out with the kid and everything, but he's gone early for the slaps because he just fucking hates the guy.
It's more of a competitive rivalry. So again, for further context, these two both broke in at the same time in '74 with Vern Gagne. They both came to Crockett in Middle Atlantic 76, 77. These two wrestled each other. But at this stage, they've wrestled each other at least 1,000 times. At least. They wrestled each other in 76, 77, 78, and then their big rivalry in 80, 81. And then 84, Flair was NWA champion, and they had another phenomenal run. Like, if you ask Flair, the matches he used to have in 84 were better than 89.
Yeah, you know, he used to say that in like house shows.
Yeah.
He's had better matches than this with Ricky.
Flair, these two would wrestle our Broadways.
Yeah,
eight times a week.
And these house shows were never like, or I guess rarely were recorded, right? They're just lost to time.
There wasn't house shows there.
There
wasn't a thing as house shows then. It was people would go to wrestling matches.
Well.
They would do TV in a studio, for an hour once a week, and that was to sell the shows to people to buy tickets to go and watch a match. So when they would have turnbuckle bump. So when they'd have like a big show in Greenville or Greensboro or the Omni in Atlanta or Flair is NWA, he was the traveling world champion. He would go to a territory for a week, whether it be St. Louis or he'd go to Kansas, and he'd go to Florida, he'd do the Carolinas, and he'd go to Japan for a week. He'd go to Hawaii, or he'd go to the Rock's mum's territory in Hawaii. And it would be a big match, like it would be the top local guy against Flair.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what gets lost here, right? You know the chops that he does, right? In 1989, with 1989 technology microphones, you can still hear the chops.
Yeah.
No matter if you had today's technology, you know what I mean? Like you watch Gunther with his chops and the guys in AEW, but this would be so much better with today's technology as well, if you think about it.
Did I read somewhere? Did Sheamus call Gunther an announcer?
Yeah, but he swiftly did. Well, not quite. He insinuated it in a tweet, and which was swiftly deleted. I can't remember the specifics of the tweet, but he compared him to Adolf.
What's the real piece there then? Because I'll tell you what, in the match, there's a couple of moments where, for example, Gunther goes to do the, is it called the 10 belts of the belt?
10 beats of the Baron or whatever it is.
That's the one. Gunther goes to do that quite early, and he does it twice. And after he does the second one, you can tell, like, Sheamus has had enough. He's like, oh, bloody hell, mate, stop hitting me. And it's almost as if he was supposed to take more than two, and he's gone, no, stop. And then I'm not saying they didn't cooperate with each other, but there's a couple of moments where they looked like it was stiff. Maybe I've been like, maybe I'm a mark, right? But if you, what's this tweet like? Like, is there actually beef, you think, outside of the?
I'd have to find it. It was posted somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. You guys chat amongst yourselves.
Because again, like going back to what I said earlier, you don't see him tap out, right? I think he was reluctant to tap out. Like he was in that move twice. He did the angle where he hurt his knee. I can't remember how he did it. I think Ludwig is the guy on the outside of the ring hit his knee, injured his knee, and it was almost like I don't know. Were you just saying that now about Twitter? I'm just wondering if there's a little bit of real life beef there with them being two big guys supposed to be on top.
It's a work, Leach. It's a work.
You what?
Seamus said, an Austrian with a funny haircut has a thing for military-style clothes, proclaims superiority over others, hangs out with Germans, and betrays his Italian ally.
That's a clever tweet. I can respect that. That's very good.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to be clever there. Yeah.
That's very clever.
Pressure once again.
Anyway,
he didn't betray Mussolini. Mussolini just got smashed by the British. But there we go.
It was a very match-heavy Raw this week, wasn't it? I mean, obviously they're building up to the King and Queen of the Ring, but there were actually some good matches on there. Who was it? Ricochet versus.
Oh, Ricochet and Ilya Dragunov was quality.
Ilya Dragunov,
that's nice.
Brilliant match. Really good match.
Really good. I mean, this King of the Ring, if they do it correctly, we're gonna get some really good matches in the King of the Ring.
And you become a Fed head. What's happened to you?
Well,
good wrestling's good wrestling, mate.
Wrestling's good wrestling, and also the storylines, because each of these matches as well, the way they've done the bracket, potentially we're gonna get Gunther versus Ilya, maybe.
Who?
That's got history, like NXT.
Gunther versus Ilya Dragunov, yeah, they had
the 5-star match in NXT,
and
right?
on the independents as well.
Yeah, okay.
Progress Wrestling, I think they had a really good match there. I think, if I remember, I did. Hunter likes to poke at the history as well, like.
Yeah. Yeah, which is one of the things I always liked about AEW, that wrestling history built into AEW. They weren't afraid of referencing something that happened in another company, right? And WWE always historically were, but since Hunter's come in, I don't think he's been afraid of that. He wasn't afraid of AJ and Cody touching to Bullet Club or anything like that. It wasn't the main focus, but he didn't have a problem with anyone mentioning it, right?
I think there'll be a limit, though. I think, like, for example, AEW won't be afraid of mentioning really low-level independents, whereas WWE will probably just mention New Japan, and that'll be about it, right? But they won't mention AEW. I mean, maybe they will, but I don't think they will they?
I don't think they'll directly mention it. I mean, when Cody came in, for example, they never said, "Oh, Cody's come across from AEW." Like they just said from somewhere, and they never actually specifically said it. Even with Jade, right?
Yeah, and Jade.
I will say the last 3 months in particular, they have done a phenomenal job in kind of, I wouldn't say buying the media, but getting pretty much everyone on side and making sure they're looked after. They have been,
and again,
they've done a brilliant job of trying to discredit AEW in every possible. Leach, why are you releasing balloons? You just released balloons on your screen, Leach.
It's so random. It's just blue stuff.
I clicked on something.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point was they kind of bought off the media in every avenue. They Chris Van Vliet, and again he's looked after with special guests and busted open, and they pretty much slaughter AEW and praise WWE. And again, WWE's been very good, but WrestleMania week in particular, again, I'm not high on AEW at the minute, but I thought it was really dirty tactics in terms of their attempt to kind of discredit everything that they've done the last pretty much 5 years.
And you notice the publications that don't buy in or don't, publicly back WWE, whether they're independent or whether they're AEW focused. There's been instances where Hunter has shit on them and made them look not credible.
The question was somebody, right? He knocked them.
Yeah, someone asked, Fightful have said that Drew Gulak is not under contract anymore. Is it anything to do with the Ronda thing? And Hunter basically said, if you're gonna cite publications, cite good ones. I.e., saying Fightful full of shit. Which,
But both have come out and said their PR team liaised with us afterwards and apologized and said he didn't mean it. Like, what?
but he said it. He said it publicly.
Exactly. He
So
said it in front of an open forum, so it might have mentioned
how?
it privately, but it doesn't matter what he said. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
But perception is reality. So he says in a public forum, don't listen to these people. They're not credible. Yeah, I didn't mean it. Well, you just had it in front of a video that's probably going to get millions of views because there's like 15, 20 people all recording this and put it on their own respective channels. It's clever. I say it's really clever.
Goes both ways though, right? Anyone I think in this day and age, with the amount of I don't know fake news or whatever, or people with opinions on social media, right? You kind of have to form your own opinions.
Great
If you don't think that, or if you don't have an opinion over whether a source is credible, then go and find out about that source. I listen to a lot of the Fightful podcast, see a lot of their.
We know, Rafa.
You
We know.
see, you see any of the big news stories that are broken. A lot of the time, the original source is Fightful, whether that's contract news, whether that's info about the Vince stuff, whether that's CM Punk or people coming back, things like that. A lot of the time, it comes from Fightful, so they're obviously doing something right to get that much right. So
Is that why you end up like following most of their advice in terms of like betting?
Who does he know?
Just...
Like, he must know a few wrestlers, right? This Sean.
Of course,
He's not like he's hiding and sneaking in and I'm listening.
No,
and, he knows somebody.
He's got his sources, hasn't he? He's got his sources. Whoever that is.
I'm just wondering who he's got. Like, for example, we all know Meltzer's got Jericho. Like,
Jericho, the boat.
He's got left, right? That's it. Where like Sean's probably got a few of the younger. I'd assume a lot of the younger wrestlers, maybe. I mean, where's he from, Sean? Where's he? What state's he from?
Australia. I have no idea.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I mean, it might be that he knows a lot of the script writers, right, rather than actually the wrestlers. He might know the backstage.
I think he's just been doing it for so long that he's forged relationships with a lot of people. I think that's what it comes down to. To be honest with you,
yeah, I, mean,
I don't know specifics, but
and then there's knowing people who are willing to risk their job, I suppose, to give you inside information, right?
Yeah, true.
You build relationships with the media guys, but they're not going to give you inside information. But then he may know some of the script writers.
A lot of the time, he'll say, I spoke to, like, he'll say, I think he said that he spoke to Hunter or someone else, like at that level, asked him directly, are you speaking to CM Punk ahead of Survivor Series? And he asked at one point, and they said, no, we're not in conversations. And he asked him another point, and he said he didn't directly deny it. So from that he took that there was something going on, but it wasn't enough.
Who's leaking the cards to him, like when he knows the order of the matches and stuff like that? Like, who's leaking that to him? You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be.
He'll have a couple of writers, I think, more so than the talent. He'll have a couple of people from the office who he speaks to quite.
Yeah, I mean, it could be script writers. It could be lighting people, or people who press the button for the music or whatever. Right? It could be. It could be talent.
I think you get a little. I think if you're in that position, right, you'll get a little kick from knowing the little nuggets you've given there appears in a publication and goes in so many different internet places, right?
The skeptical part of me says whoever he praises and never shits on is the person who's giving him the information. That's how you know.
Jericho hasn't had a match less than 3,000 in 6 years.
Yeah, but I mean like Sean, right? So if for example,
no, I'm saying, yeah,
you should be shitting on somebody.
You definitely get looked after, don't you?
Be the guy, but maybe we'll never know.
I mean, the mainly wrestling will never ever crap on Lizzie Evo because she's one good interview with us. Obviously. Great bow tie on Jim Ross, by the way.
Jim Ross here with a full head of hair, man. That's good hair.
No hair transplant for Jim Ross.
JR's,
I think 39 at this point as well. I think he's a few years younger than Edge. I think he's like 38 yeah. At the peak of his game. Never mind Attitude Era, Austin. JR 88, 89, 90 was goated. Because the problem was, apart from the main event scene, WCW was the shit. the absolute drizzling shits.
So, did Jim Ross come from? I'm trying to think. I should know this, but I'm going to guess and get it wrong, obviously. But
I'll tell you. 'Cause I know
did he come from Georgia wrestling?
he came from Mid South.
Mid
He
South wrestling. That was it.
Oklahoma.
So
He's
when they
very
got
close with
when they
Cowboy
got
Bill Watts,
acquired,
who's another Oklahoma Sooner.
wasn't that
And
the
he-
UW? What was the UWF era when they bought the UWF? They merged.
so the Mid South renamed as the UWF in 1986.
Right.
I was out of business and bought out by Jim
That's why
Crockett in
Jim. That's why.
87. Yeah. And so he came in and yeah, he was big. He was a Mid South's main commentary guy and
I just
in
remember
84.
watching. I went back on the network a few years ago and watched
What a bump
the.
that is. Where do you think Shawn Michaels got that bump from?
I watched like the Crockett era, and then suddenly one day there was like a bunch of wrestlers turned up with a shitload of new belts, and it was obviously the acquisition of UWF, right? Where they brought like
In
Florida wrestlers.
September, October 87, Bill Watts sold up, and the idea was to be they had the time slot on TBS, 2 hours on the Superstation, which was the equivalent of Sky back in 87 in America. They were going to keep UWF separate, they were going to keep Jim Crockett Promotions separate, and then they were going to, split the airtime, or maybe having like 60-40 split, and then they could come back, they could come every year and have like a big super card, right? Chop champion, the UWF, whether it be Bam Bam Terry Gordy or the One Man Gang or whoever. Big Boss Man Ray Traylor was UWF champion. And have a super guy against the Crockett guys. But the problem was the guys who were from Crockett and Flair and Dusty and the Horsemen and whoever didn't like losing their spot or giving airtime to people who they deemed inferior. So Flair had a little stroke with Dusty, and Flair and
the
Dusty
first
had a
one I
little stroke
remember,
with Jimmy, and it was shut down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I remember the main person who came over. I think was Michael Wall Street IRS Rotunda. I think he came from UWF as a
No, Mike Rotunda was in the WWF. Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham were tag team champions at the first WrestleMania in '84.
No, but when they were in this, weren't they though?
Yeah, the Varsity Club. Yeah. But I'm saying
89 around this time, I think. Right?
he kind of bumped around. Mike Rotunda kind of bumped around the territories. Barry Windham was another one. He never stayed in one place longer than 18, 20.
Actually, if you talk about Horseman history, then so I'm trying to think now. So we're in 89. You're mentioning Wyndham.
Yep.
Well, Wyndham. So it's Ole Anderson's gone at this point, right? And is it not Lex Luger next? I'm trying to think now. The Horseman history with this.
So
he's already gone as the 80.
By the way.
It's 86, isn't it? When the
Horseman formed in December '85. Ole and that turnbuckle bump is phenomenal. Oh, if you're watching anywhere at home, 114, 141, 16, 17, 18, and they're really starting to cook.
There's a lot of little touches that kind of make things a lot better. Quite old school stuff, but even like the referee in the bow tie and being very hands-on with them, like don't go outside of the ring. You're not allowed to go outside of the ring. He's outside recovering. And so then when Rick does go outside and starts attacking him on the outside, it puts him over as such a dickhead even more, right?
Yeah.
Whereas these days, referees are just like,
they
climb the turnbuckle, get down from there. Oh no, what have you done? Kind of thing. It's not as kind of.
It's
I don't know. It's not as,
factor,
the ball-headed referee that the elite use. Like he's always he starts counting, and you just see him give up. Like they're outside for a minute, and he's just like, stop counting. I'll sod it. Whereas like you're right in this, the referees are in control. They feel like an authority.
If you notice, 5 minutes in, Flair was outside. Steamboat did go to the top rope, and Tommy Young got him down, saying, "No, we don't do that." I said, like, Flair did it, and
they're even talking now. Should this be a disqualification because he's gone over the top rope? Well, Jim's saying no, because Flair didn't chuck him over the top rope.
He went over by his own account. Yeah,
referee's made that clear now.
So when Arn and Tully faced the Road Warriors at Starrcade '87, they threw I think they threw Tully over the top rope, won the belts, but again, dusty finish, which ruined the crowd in Chicago for the NWA for about 8-9 years. It was nullified and disqualified because they'd been deemed to throw the guy over the top rope, which was
Can you imagine that today? Disqualification for chucking somebody.
Just so bad booking, yeah.
AEW would not have a finish, right? It's just
But Tommy Young and Flair. Tommy Young was kind of he was the referee of the year, I think 7, 8 times in the 80s. But he had such a good relationship with Flair where his credibility was never questioned. And like if he ever Flair was a heel, right? If ever he pushed Tommy Young would push him back harder. And like Flair, you'd see Flair whispering, going, "Push me or hit me," and then the crowd would get into it like, "Oh, you don't fuck with Tommy Young," like, and then that helps his credibility when he does come to.
You listen to before Tony Schiavone was in AEW. Did you listen to his podcast?
I love Tommy. I love Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone's podcast before he joined AEW was brilliant.
Yeah,
and now he's become really sanitized.
Are you familiar with the Tommy Young joke about him cracking off?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Who was it?
Disgraceful.
Was it Haku?
No, it was.
It was someone like that, right? It was a tough guy like Haku, right?
What's the story?
He goes, well, I'm not going to wank myself off, am I? It's not going to pull itself. Yeah. A bit like Klondike Bill with
But he
his
wanted relief, and apparently Tommy Young adhered to the request.
I think who the hell was that?
What a pace these men have set with this.
I think I'll have a think. But it's the same with Klondike Bill, right? Taking a shit on
on the table
on a glass coffee table. Yeah.
Extend his arm, his
Listen to What Happened When with Tony Schiavone. With
if anyone's listening from What Happens When and they know about Klondike Bill, would Klondike Bill be here now? He'd be here at this event, right?
He probably helped set the ring up and the lighting, yeah.
Yeah, so he'd be there,
That knee was stolen from Harley Race and then stolen by Triple H. Look at that.
Triple H take the knee pad down, right?
Well, not if Ricky Steamboat has anything to say about it. Flair had a handful of.
I don't know. I'm maybe just such a loser. I think this is just. I can't deal with modern day wrestling. I'll go back and watch stuff like this. Or watching like the Kerry match was all right, but the crowd are just into everything Kerry does. We were saying Leach 40th anniversary of Kerry winning the belt at Texas Stadium, which was a 20-year chase, right? Because his old man tried to do it, came up short. They had the brothers, David and Kevin, and then Kerry was the big one. And then couldn't handle the schedule of being the actual traveling world champion and dropped it back to 6.
Did you listen to Wrestling Observer yesterday about that? So they were talking about obviously it's the anniversary, and Meltzer was saying he was there, right? He was at the event, and I think he might actually off the back of that.
Why do you listen to Wrestling Observer? You not Meltzer at every opportunity.
I love Meltzer, mate, from a historical perspective. I just think his opinion in today's wrestling is outdated and was.
I agree with that.
But he was saying, because he was at the show, and he said, like, oh, yeah, so the actual Flair match was not the main event. It actually happened midway through the card.
I don't know.
Because it was taped for TV as well. Like they did the first hour and the second hour. So they had 2 main events. And like Alvarez was like checking all the website and he was going, no. Every single website says it was the main event. It went on last, basically. And Meltzer's going, no, I 100%. I was there. And it was like, maybe an hour and a half into a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
So there was a big contentious point on Wrestling Observer yesterday. So lots of people now are looking at it and going, like, well, they're basically asking Flair, like tweeting at Flair to change things like Wikipedia and Cage Match and everything to actually show it being midway through the show. So just a small little trivia point there for you.
And Flair
did we actually get to the bottom of it? If Meltzer was
correct, I listened to it this morning. I've not had a chance.
I trust Dave. If he says he was there, like you can't really.
I mean, Meltzer saying I was there, like it wasn't the main event. I remember it clearly not being the main event. Like I'm just trying to think of events. So, for example, I was at obviously Double or Nothing a couple of years ago, and if Punk and Hangman wasn't the main event, I would remember that 20 years from now. Like I know it was the main event.
Yeah.
And so. I'm just trying to think like 20 years from now, if some website
look at that wasn't the main event. He's trying to pull him down off the top rope.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, as we say, he has really trained hard for this in great condition, and he's been coming on strong in the last minutes of the match.
Steamboat up and over, great move by the Dragon.
This is a good nifo, really. Look at the crowd.
Flair kicks out. Steamboat and Flair both up very quickly.
Leach, what do you know about the new guy that's joined the Bloodline now? I've seen some chatter online and some
Gorilla
videos
Tedeschi guy.
surfacing of his terrible chops and that he missed his spot and stuff like that. But
Yeah, you missed it
is he
by
as
like
bad
a
as
fraction
people are
of a
saying?
second. The thing is, though, that missed spot. Just imagine, right? He's under the ring. Those French fans were so loud. He was
They were brilliant,
listening.
by the way.
Yeah, they were
Unreal.
brilliant. Mate, I'm surprised I'm not surprised he missed. He only missed it by a second as well. To be fair,
I did watch the clip of that on Twitter where the referee basically like
people
chucks
trying to
himself out the ring.
shit on him for that are just looking to shit on him just for the sake of it. Like, I mean, I would have missed my spot by 5 minutes. Like if I'm sat with that, it was so loud. But
you've seen a lot of independent stuff, right? So have you seen him elsewhere and
I've seen
any
a pair
kind
of
of
them just
thoughts
in
on
New
him as a
Japan,
wrestler?
and I've seen them in the UK. They came over and did a match in the UK. In fact, I was there with Rafa. So but I think it's one of them. Like for example, under Vince McMahon, if you look at the size of them, they're not Vince McMahon wrestlers, are they? Like, so I can
Leach,
see why.
it's Haku's kid, right?
Yeah, but you've got Hikuleo as well, who's
Don't know who that is.
still in New Japan, and then you've also got what's his name, the guy who
That's who.
MLW.
Jacob Fatu. He's not there yet, right?
No, he's not there yet. So you potentially got 4 brand new Samoans for the Bloodline storyline, and then if, for example, if it ends up being like The Rock being the person behind
it,
that's amazing for WrestleMania 41. I'm in Vegas for that. I think again, The Rock versus Roman for the Bloodline.
You're getting to the point where Roman's going to come back and be the biggest babyface in the company.
Yeah, I think he already is. If he came back tomorrow, he is, isn't he? Like,
he's a star. It's hard for stars to be. I think everyone kind of bought into The Rock being a heel because it's like a nod. We're gonna go along. We understand what's going on, and like you fucked up over the whole Cody thing, and we're gonna buy into you being a heel. But it's really hard for stars to be like Drew will inevitably turn babyface, and he will be a huge babyface, right? But it's hard to keep somebody if you are so good at being a heel, and Roman was. It's hard for you to stay and not turn.
You know what? It's funny. I think it was 16 years ago this week. I think I saw it was on Twitter of the anniversary when JBL in Mexico.
20 years. It was
20 years. Fine.
JBL won the belt 20 years
Yeah, that
ago
makes
this
sense.
month.
Yeah. Were they in Texas or were they in Mexico when
They were in El Paso,
Eddie's...
Texas, which is Eddie's hometown.
Right.
And by the way, you
Yeah,
can find search for Tim Gatt in the archives. We had him on a previous show of ours. Good guy.
Anyway, so JBL, Eddie Guerrero's mother's come into the ring. JBL's gone to say something to her, shout at her, whatever. And they were supposed to have a bit where she had a heart attack, but then she did actually have a heart attack.
I remember
and
that. Yeah.
And JBL said that he was on Cheap Heat a couple of weeks back, and he was talking about that spot and said that the police told him to get out of that as soon as possible, and he drove about a couple of hours down the road because they were like, if you don't leave now, we don't know if you're going to get out alive. And just Jack, on what you were saying, that it's hard to be a heel that's so good that you don't almost become beloved by the fans. But JBL was one of those who got himself to that level and just never was babyface and retired in his retirement match as a shithouse heel.
So,
I mean, in today's world, like, who do you think could do that? I mean, MJF for me, given
just
maybe not now, but before, maybe he could have got that type of heat given the right person.
Let me just jump on JJ's point first. Like, you're right. He said he drove 2 hours to Pasadena, Texas, and then got a fly out of there because the police said, we can't protect you. Hey, given such as the veracity of the feeling here. Yeah. And JBL came out and he says, I made sure there wasn't a single piece of merchandise or T-shirts about me because I didn't want people in the crowd to think I had any fans.
I have fans, yeah.
So if I go in the crowd and you see, there's like 1,500 people with a JBL shirt, I was all right. No, I didn't want that feeling at all. I wanted people to despise me. And to your point, Leach, when MJF was in that frame of mind, he was brilliant. I didn't like him as a babyface. It was too.
But he's so talented that he can.
It seemed too forced.
he's just so talented that he can do either of them so well. I don't think the booking that
Should we
they
get
had
Greg
for
on?
him when he was a
Should we get
babyface.
Greg on and ask how
No,
good?
I'm saying I don't think the booking that they had for him was good, but he could turn the crowd in a second. He can have them in the palm of his hand and know they want to cheer him
You ready?
because he's
You
that
ready?
good. But then he could just turn
Woo!
them and get them to boo him or cheer him, whatever the fuck he wanted. When he was at the peak of his powers, he could just do whatever he wanted.
I don't think you understand how strong this figure four is, JJ.
Oh,
This is the whole,
you don't see referees counting on figure fours anymore, by the way.
which
When
is
the shoulders are down.
which is
When the
really
shoulders are
fucks me
down.
off. Tommy Young is brilliant, right?
When his
Like,
shoulders go
you
down,
want
the
rev
he's going
spike,
to
you want
count,
to just
right?
lay there.
Oh, yeah. You can't have your shoulders
Should
on
be
them.
counting now that
You count now. 1, 2. Ooh. Yeah, he counts.
And he shows like it's that much, that much. Tommy Young was gold, man. Honestly, we should go back and watch more 80s stuff. It's look, he's seen put the arm under the shoulder. Okay, your right shoulder's up. Okay.
30 minutes gone.
Tommy Young had a really bad like career-ending injury in '89. Otherwise, he'd have been around for another 10, 15 years.
what happened?
Do you think he would have gone and worked for?
I think he did it. He did his either his knee or his shoulder. It was something that was quite.
Shoulder seems like something that would go as a referee. Like
Mike Chioda said like he had wrist surgery, right? And that's when he was out and we just sacked
Sacked him
him.
off.
Which is right, Mike Chioda, right? Ridiculous.
Mm. He's in the Jerry the King Lawler level, right, where he should be looked after for life. You'd think. But there we
I
go.
mean,
Like consummate professional as well, you know.
Tommy Young.
From what we know. From what we know.
There you go. Tommy Young. His head bounced off the rope at a TV taping in November 28th, '89, because he refereed the Flair I Quit match at New York Knockout, Clash of the Champions in like 2 weeks earlier.
It says here, mate, he had a broken neck from that.
He got a broken neck and
then
his career was
what he
ended.
did, he got the broken neck, and then apparently he got in his car and drove his Toyota back to pick up some drugs or something, some prescription drug for his neck, because he wanted to continue. But then, yeah.
Oh, you ready?
Tommy Young was in the World Wrestling Federation briefly. I didn't know that.
That doesn't count. That was '98. That was Vince Russo.
1998 he appeared.
The sixth time. He's got 10 more ahead of him. Oh, they said sixth time.
Yeah,
I know.
6.
Yeah.
What's the real number though?
You did that.
I know. I realized afterwards. That's why I
checked.
checked my fingers. So he beat Dusty in '81. He beat
like the other stuff.
He beat Dusty in '81, September 21st, 1981. He then beat Harley Race at Starrcade, November 25th, '83. He then beat Kerry in Japan, June '84. He lost the belt to Dusty and won it back in '85, '86. He lost it July 26th, he won it back 2 weeks later. He then lost it to Ronnie Garvin and then beat him at Starrcade '87. And then Steamboat won it back here.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's ridiculous. I can't remember what Lorraine said to me like 2 days ago. And I can remember like title lineages from 40 years ago.
Let's see this Ric Flair promo then.
Um,
Is he going to do a promo? Or?
JJ, this is one of the greatest top 5 angles of all time. Wrestling.
Okay.
All time. All time.
What's about to happen?
Ric Flair
Yeah.
claims to be 21 times.
One sec. JJ, have you never seen this?
No, I don't know what's about to happen.
Oh my God, this is fucking
Okay.
phenomenal.
All right. Well, I'll watch.
the greatest man.
Leach,
You guys chat amongst yourselves.
Imagine watching this. So
well-
Flair, as the trilogy again, as the trilogy's got on, he's got more humble, right? He was a brash guy at the start.
But Rick Steamboat,
Listen to what he says.
champion.
Greatest champion he's ever faced.
Proud to be here.
Yeah, well, you've got to properly tuck and just hold.
Mm.
But yeah, tremendous. Like
So
what a piece of business.
What
And
happens
from
next then? What happens next? Like, is this go
Flair
all the
was-
way to Starrcade?
Flair's
or-
out for 7 weeks.
Most important.
Right.
Like literally out. They have a press conference at the end of they do a couple of teasers that that's his career gone. And JI goes and interviews him in his home, saying that he contemplated retirement. He goes, I don't know if my neck can come back from this.
Yeah.
And they end up having a match, Flair versus Funk at the Great American Bash 89, do huge numbers. At the end of the match, Flair is attacked by the Great Muta with Gary Hart. Sting comes to his rescue, and then for the next 5-6 months, the feud is Great Muta and Funk against Flair and
What you're
Sting.
saying is Flair sells us for 7 weeks, whereas Dustin gets a cinder block to the head and wrestles 2 minutes. Is that what you're saying?
Flair is in a neck brace at home. Yeah, literally stays at home. Doesn't come out. He doesn't. Flair's extravagant lifestyle anyway. He stayed at home, and he has a home gym anyway, right? So
who was the wrestler who sold that they were blind?
the Sandman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sold that for a while.
But you hear JR talk about this. He goes, "It's the greatest, one of the greatest pieces of business he's ever been involved with." Because to get from you've just had the greatest trilogy of all time, and immediately you've got one of the hottest feuds immediately afterwards. It's fair play. Like the Jim Herd era of WCW wasn't great, but this was phenomenal.
Mm.
And Terry Funk, it's very hard to play. Oh my God, it's Nikita Koloff.
Yeah. The great hairstyle for him, man.
Wow. I'm sponsored by Adidas. But
it was a great match. It was a great segment afterwards as well. Enjoyed it.
A great piece of business, kid.
Honestly, some of the stuff in the 80s that you've shown us before is terrible. But that
Dog
was
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're watching all,
how far have you gone back?
We'd do like a scattergun kind of approach, but
Right.
it'd be some I mean, Jay would be better off.
We would watch all the episodes of Mid-Atlantic from 85 and 86, but you would have shit matches with good promos and angles in between, right? To get you to, but those episodes was to get you to go and buy a ticket to a local house show. This was big time angle.
The Crockett stuff would be better. The storylines there and the matches.
Yeah, it was, but the thing was we were trying to get like short shows, and the Mid-Atlantic shows were 44 minutes.
Yeah.
The old TBS shows were like an hour and 25, and this is like, Jack, I don't have time for this. Like, well, yeah, no, it's 11:30 for us. We're struggling too, darling.
Yeah, but you could pick like matches like that, right? Like pay-per-view.
Yeah, you wouldn't get the massive matches of that caliber on weekly TV, and nor should you, right? Because the monetization of wrestling companies back 40 years ago was people buying a ticket to what you said with house show. People buying a ticket to a show. That was the bread and butter. There was no media right. There was no internet. There was no pay-per-view. It was we made money by people coming and buying a ticket and then coming back 3 weeks, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later. That is.
Have you ever shown
booking.
TNA on this? Have you ever done any TNA callbacks?
Never done that in TNA. I think we've done one ROH match, maybe two. We've not done any TNA. We did dive into some.
We did AJ Styles, Bryan Danielson at ROH Dissension. We did the Murder City Machine Guns against the Briscoes at Good Times, Great Memories. 7.
I'll tell you
I did that after.
I think we did one more as well.
I've gone back over some of the because I watched TNA from more or less from the beginning when Ron the Truth Killings was his champion, right? You remember that NWA champion?
I do.
Truth. But I've been watching some of the classic stuff like when Styles was there, Samoa Joe was there, Angle was there, Booker T was there, and all that. And there is for me when I'm watching it now, it's almost like I'm not saying it's the same as AEW, but it's almost like AEW, like in terms of what they're trying to promote, what they're trying to do. They're trying to because at the time, if you remember, WWE was even worse than what it was when AEW came in. Like the wrestling was terrible, and they were giving alternative like Samoa Joe versus Styles versus Daniels in a triple threat.
Unbreakable 05. I watched it. I put my tips to it.
Yeah, and
so
then
what we're saying is
with WWE wrestlers as well. They got the Angles, which is obviously like your Cody Rhodes or whatever, or
Christian Cage.
Do not ever do not compare Cody Rhodes to Kurt Angle.
And the fans were really
the level of star. You saying?
Yeah, that's like almost like Tony's. Like the model is very similar, where it's like use previous WWE wrestlers. Also, they're bringing these wrestlers which are on the independents at the time, which were really good, like Samoa Joe at the time.
I think they've been a bit high. They're two very different products. I mean, I
was when you watch it though, mate. Trust me, like when you
Leach.
Before you jump into this discussion of is TNA AEW, if you've got this far, comment favorite TNA show, and we'll pick our favorite one. And we'll watch it next time.
Leach, the only ever wrestling show I've seen in the UK before all in was I went
AEW.
and watched a TNA house show in '07. In
Yeah, I've
'05,
seen that
'06,
as
'07,
well.
before the main event Mafia was a real thing, I watched TNA every week on Bravo,
You know,
Thursday,
you know what
8
though, mate,
o'clock.
with the UK stuff, right? It's very similar. Whereas the ticket sales for TNA in the America at the time were not fantastic,
Yeah,
similar to AEW today.
I know.
But
I would watch it every
they could
week.
sell
Yeah.
out the UK, right? Like AEW could today. Like, so it's just fascinating for me. It's very
I
similar.
was on the ROH.
Just
I
that
was on the
AEW doing a lot
ROH
more money.
message
Like, they
boards.
should do better.
I was on the ROH message boards. My one of my pseudonyms was American Dragon's British cousin, and you'd be following like the ROH wrestlers in Pro Wrestling Noah. I was a massive nerd for wrestling back in 18 years ago, whatever it was, and I'd be all over TNA, and then it went very main event mafia, and that turned me off. And then 08, 09, I stopped watching for 10 years.
Yeah, maybe main
Because
event.
because
That was
it got
AEW
too
storyline.
they had their such a good niche product, and then they moved closer and closer to what WWE was doing, right? And then they brought Jeff Hardy in and Mick Foley and Rob Van Dam, and then Hogan and Bischoff came, and then dead.
I mean, not dead, still alive today. I guess the question is, Jack,
Hey, yeah.
do you believe in Joe Hendry?
I don't know who he is. I don't care
I've
who he
always
is.
believed in Joe Henry. I've
People who
seen
follow
Joe
Joe
Henry
Hendry
live before
are
in the UK.
sad
Yeah,
acts.
I'll be honest with you though, I am not
Wow.
up to date with what he's doing now. I'm not up to date with what he's doing now, but I've known him from before.
He's number 4 in the UK charts. That's what he's doing now.
What's the
So
song
what?
like, JJ? Give me a bar.
I'm not gonna do that. No,
Not
I'm
too.
not really much of a singer.
Do you
I
know
don't like the
what,
spotlight. Don't
Leach?
like being on
So
the
I had
stage.
one of my best mates over for the weekend, and we're there on Sunday morning. Went fucking hell, right? I've seen some people in my time, but I've never seen a guy love karaoke like your mate John last night. Jesus Christ! Like, anyone want to do the song? Yeah, I'm up next. Like, we're at Hendrix Bar on Saturday, and JJ was up I think 6 or 7 times in
Yeah,
about two
Jack fell
hours.
asleep, so yeah.
it's always Hendrix,
I
right?
tell you what, though, the picture
Don't
you
go
sent my
for all
missus,
time.
my bulge looks fantastic. So thank you for that because I don't think my cock has ever looked that good.
I was trying to get her interested in you, mate.
What a sell job! If only modern day wrestlers could sell like that.
Did
Anyway,
work.
what did you think of the Flair Steamboat finale and the following angle?
Is he frozen? I
Leach, are you
think he's
pausing?
frozen.
Or are you?
Oh, that
Yeah,
question was to
there
me.
it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
called
I mean,
Leach.
I've seen
Yeah,
that match before, right? So, like,
right.
but no, it's a classic, isn't it? Like you said, it starts off it's very controversial. It starts off the Flair, you could say face run. It brings Funkin back into it,
Ooh.
and it ends the really fantastic feud with our boy Steamboat. What does Steamboat do after that? When does he go to WWE? Does he go shortly after?
So Steamboat is not happy about the way he's kind of like um just put to one side. So he ends up feuding with Lex Luger for the US title afterwards. They
Okay,
wrestle at the Great American Bash again. Flair moves on to Funk. Um, Steamboat wrestles Luger, and then he's not happy about his payoff in July, August '89, and moves back to WF like shortly after, and then he becomes
yeah, he's the
the
dragon.
fire breathing Ricky the
Dragon.
Dragon Steamboat. Yeah,
Okay, no, I enjoyed it. And that was what 40 years ago. Or was that 35 years ago? So
35 years ago today, Leacher,
today.
before you and I were born.
No,
And me,
I was
just to
born.
clarify.
Not quite.
Is
Yeah,
it?
JJ, would you be happy more watching more stuff for '89?
Well, I mean TNA next, obviously, but yeah, I'm happy to watch more if it's good matches.
And
Oh,
and and we need to vote, by the way, in the comments for the 5 people who are voting. You need to vote for the
The five
triple,
people who
the,
voted.
the Daniels, the Samoa Joe, and the AJ Styles
I'm
triple.
happy watching anything from '05,
JJ,
'06,
JJ hasn't
'07.
watched that. That needs to be a watch. That is fantastic.
JJ, if you watched that triple threat match,
I don't think so.
really? If you
Christopher
watch
Yeah.
Daniels in his prime, the Fallen Angel versus AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. It's so good. So good.
There was one in Ring of Honor, right? Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles versus was it Brian Danielson?
No, you're thinking of the era of Honor Begins. It was Danielson low key against Danielson, the first main event at the
No, there
first
was a triple
ROH show.
threat. There was a triple threat main event that. Well, I mean, I think you said before it's your favorite ever ROH match.
My favorite ever ROH match is Danielson versus Roderick Strong at ROH Vendetta, which is just it's unbelievable.
Mate,
I don't know what one I'm thinking of.
CM Punk 60-minute Broadway with Samoa Joe was
Joe Punk 2, October 4th, 04 is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how you can just reel off the dates, Jack. It's brilliant.
But you don't understand between 04 and 06, 07, I lived and breathed Ring of Honor so much, and the people involved in it, like Danielson, Punk, Joe, Strong, Aries and Roderick Strong and Austin Aries are one of the greatest tag teams of all time, but nobody ever saw them, so it's completely material. But they were between pretty much 2000, the Ring of Honor's tag division and the belts meant nothing. And the two of them, they wrestled the Briscoes, they wrestled the guys from Dragon Gate, they wrestled Kings of Wrestling. AJ Styles and Matt Sydal were a tag team for a while. AJ Styles was trying to steal Matt Sydal away from Generation Next. To like all bar like 60 people on the internet, nobody knows anything what I'm talking about right now. But if you do, thanks for watching.
I mean, there's a Venn diagram of people that know and people that might watch the show.
There's three people, yeah.
I think there's the big difference between knowing. I know those matches, but saying the dates of when they happen, that's going too far, mate. In my opinion, like I could talk about the storylines and say, "Oh, this happened, I think, in this year," but you're straight in with October the 4th.
Encyclopedia.
Leach, I had my business at the time. I was the second biggest seller of ROH media, ROH merchandise in Great Britain. JGM Sports Limited. Behind him, if you remember A Merchandise. No?
No.
They bought me out for about four and a half grand. I was the second biggest seller of ROH stuff in the UK. So I knew when the dates of shows because I knew when they're coming out. I knew when I get stuff.
It was number one.
Imagine
ROH.
I said A Merchandise.
Okay.
It did a lot with the UK. I bought out Stephen Gauntlet, all his 1PW stuff. I went to Stephen Gauntlet's house in Doncaster. Yeah.
I've been a few of them.
What are these watches, man?
I went to a few of them.
Jack, imagine if he still had some of this merchandise now. It would be probably some of it would be worth quite a lot because it's very rare, right?
I went to this dodgy.
Must be very rare.
I went to this dodgy Doncaster council estate and I knocked on the wrong door. And I said, "This guy, I'm here for the wrestling merchandise." And this big black guy into the floor went, "You fucking what, mate? I'm here for the 1,000 wrestling DVDs. You got some figures for me as well? Get the fuck off my drive and don't come back." And my mates were in the car outside and went, "People got the wrong house, mate."
Did you get out of there? I mean, you got out of there alive. Did you manage to get hold of the stuff?
I've never shit myself in life, and that is one of the few like top 3 where I just couldn't get out of that driveway quick enough. But yeah, Stephen Gauntlet, and then he Leach did he not relaunch the product about 3-4 years ago?
Bankrupt, didn't it?
And then he went bankrupt again. Ospreay, I was in Ospreay's DM about it. He went, "Yeah, I agreed this." He never sent it, and he never paid anyone else. So like, fuck him.
Yeah. Well, my photo with Danielson, the cheesy one.
You've got photos with everyone, Leach.
Oh, that was at that show. That was Doncaster. Was
that 1PW? Was it called? The Sky Dome or something? The Doncaster Dome?
Yeah, it was called the Doncaster Dome, wasn't it? That got like the ice rink.
Because they did shows in there and they had big shows in commentary, right?
Sorry?
They had big shows in commentary as well.
The commentators.
They had big shows in Coventry.
Oh, in Coventry. I don't know. I never went. And they didn't just do Doncaster. Yeah, they went up Sheffield as well, I think. But Doncaster was the home, right? When they did their WrestleMania or their
WrestleMania.
Their version of WrestleMania. I remember going their version of WrestleMania. Remember Oof the German, the big German guy? It was a flaming tables match.
Was he from WXW?
Yeah, he came from Germany, yeah. And I just remember when they set the table on fire in front of me. I was front row. My hair, like I needed hair.
The old hair.
Like Yeah, mate, it was hot in that arena. But they were good shows. They were good shows. You might be able to get some DVDs on that to watch, maybe.
We'll see. But
Obscure.
Fair play to those people that do support indie wrestling. We might look back at them one day, but yeah, we will try to look at TNA next week if you can sort us out with a subscription, Leach. That'd be very nice. Are you still?
Raf has subscribed, didn't he? We'll have to steal it from him.
Yeah, we'll still have Rafa's logins.
Yeah, I'm not
We've
watching.
not said anything bad about Raf on the podcast yet, so he can't deny this, can he? No. This time anyway. I'll settle up with him anyway, so he likes me at the minute. I've been Jack Milner, and on that note, I've been Jack Milner. JJ is yawning. He's been Matt Leach. He's been the Ice Gem, and he's been very tired. We will see you all very soon. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Bye bye.